Imagine standing at the foot of a towering cliff 50,000 years ago. The air is freezing. Sharp winds whip across the rocks. Every step could be your last. One loose stone, one slip of your hand, and you'll disappear into the valley below. Yet someone is climbing, not for food, not for shelter, not to escape a predator. They're risking their life for a single eagle feather. At first, it sounds absurd. Why would anyone gamble everything for something that can't be eaten, can't keep you warm, and can't protect you from danger? If all you wanted was a feather, there were easier choices. Ducks, geese, and other birds were far less dangerous. But our ancestors didn't want ordinary feathers. They wanted feathers from the most powerful birds in the sky. Golden eagles, black vultures, red kites. Birds that nested on steep cliffs and defended themselves with razor-sharp talons. For decades, archaeologists couldn't explain why. Again and again, ancient campsites revealed the same strange pattern. The bones of large birds of prey carried precise cut marks around the wings, while the rest of the body was often left behind. The meat wasn't the prize, the feathers were. But why would something with almost no practical value become worth risking your life for? The answer leads to one of the biggest turning points in human evolution. Long before kingdoms, money, writing, or even recorded history, our ancestors began giving special meaning to objects that had little physical value. That single mental leap changed everything. It allowed humans to communicate identity without words, build trust with strangers, and eventually create the shared beliefs that made civilization possible. But this story hides three incredible mysteries. First, why prehistoric hunters willingly climbed deadly cliffs for a single feather. Second, how a cave in Gibraltar shattered everything. Scientists thought they knew about Neanderthals. And finally, how a simple eagle feather may have helped shape the symbolic thinking that still influences every human society today. So, before we can understand civilization, we have to climb the cliff. The climb was only the beginning. Finding an eagle's nest was difficult enough. Reaching it was something else entirely. Golden eagles built their nests high on steep cliffs, where few predators could reach them. Those locations protected their young, but they also made every human approach incredibly dangerous. There were no ropes, no metal tools, no safety equipment. Only bare hands, simple climbing aids, and the willingness to risk everything. Then came the eagle itself. A golden eagle is one of the most powerful birds of prey on Earth. With incredible eyesight, razor-sharp talons, and astonishing speed, it could defend its nest with terrifying force. One mistake could end the hunt instantly. So why not hunt an easier bird? If feathers were only meant for practical use, geese, ducks, or crows would have been far safer choices. They were easier to catch, and their feathers could also be used for everyday tasks. But archaeological evidence suggests that wasn't the goal. At several prehistoric sites, scientists found something unusual. The cut marks on raptor bones were concentrated around the wings, exactly where the largest flight feathers were attached. The rest of the skeleton often showed little evidence of butchering. That pattern suggests the feathers themselves were the object of interest. And not just any feathers. The largest, darkest, and most striking feathers from birds that almost no one could successfully capture. Think about what that meant in a world without writing. Imagine someone walking back into camp wearing a magnificent eagle feather. Before they even spoke, everyone already knew one thing. This person had survived a challenge that very few others would even attempt. The feather wasn't just an ornament, it was evidence. Proof of courage, skill, determination, and perhaps even experience. But just when archaeologists thought they were beginning to understand this strange behavior, a discovery from a cave overlooking the Mediterranean Sea changed the entire story, because it revealed that the first people collecting eagle feathers might not have been modern humans at all. For more than a century, Neanderthals were often portrayed as simple, primitive humans who survived through strength rather than intelligence. Many scientists believed symbolic behavior, using ornaments, decorations, or objects to express identity, was unique to our own species, Homo sapiens. Then came a remarkable discovery. Inside Gorham's cave in Gibraltar, archaeologists uncovered the remains of large birds of prey dating back tens of thousands of years. But these bones told an unexpected story. Researchers noticed fine cut marks exactly where the large flight feathers attached to the wings. The pattern appeared again and again. The birds had not been processed like a normal food source. Instead, the feathers seemed to have been carefully removed, while the rest of the animal was of little interest. In 2012, a research team led by Clive Finlayson published evidence suggesting that Neanderthals had intentionally collected feathers from birds such as golden eagles, black vultures, and red kites. The discovery challenged one of the oldest ideas in human evolution. If Neanderthals were deliberately selecting beautiful feathers, then they were doing something far more sophisticated than simply surviving. They were using symbols. A feather could communicate something that words never had to. It could represent experience. It could represent courage. It could represent identity. And that changes everything, because symbols only matter when other people understand their meaning. If one person wears an eagle feather and everyone else immediately recognizes what it represents, then an invisible social system already exists. That requires memory, shared beliefs, recognition, and communication. In other words, these feathers may have been part of one of humanity's earliest symbolic traditions. Scientists still debate exactly how the feathers were used. Some believe they decorated clothing. Others suggest they were worn on the body or used during important social rituals. We may never know the exact answer, but most researchers agree on one point. These feathers were probably far more than simple decorations. They carried meaning. And once humans began attaching meaning to physical objects, the human mind took a remarkable step toward becoming the mind we recognize today. But why would a simple feather become so valuable that people were willing to risk their lives for it? The answer lies in one of evolution's most powerful psychological ideas: costly signaling. To understand why eagle feathers mattered so much, we need to understand one powerful idea from evolutionary biology. The principle is surprisingly simple. A signal is only believable if it is difficult, dangerous, or expensive to obtain. Think of a peacock's enormous tail. It makes escaping predators harder, yet it honestly signals that the bird is healthy enough to survive, despite the handicap. Humans evolved similar social signals. An eagle feather wasn't valuable because of what it could do. It was valuable because of what it proved. Anyone could claim to be brave. Anyone could boast about a dangerous hunt, but an eagle feather was visible evidence that its owner had taken an extraordinary risk and survived. Whether it represented hunting skill, courage, social status, or participation in important traditions, it carried meaning that others could immediately recognize. And that may have changed human society forever. Once our ancestors began agreeing that an object could represent something beyond its physical form, a new way of thinking emerged. A feather could represent prestige. A painted symbol could represent a tribe. A carved mark could represent an idea. Over thousands of generations, this ability to share symbolic meaning helped humans build larger, more cooperative societies. Language became more powerful, art became more meaningful, rituals became more complex. Eventually, people assigned value to shells, beads, metals, coins, and finally, paper money. Not because of what those objects were, but because everyone agreed on what they represented. The exact path from ancient feathers to modern civilization was undoubtedly long and complex, but discoveries like those at Gorham's cave remind us that symbolic thinking has incredibly deep roots. The urge to communicate identity through meaningful objects is far older than cities, kingdoms, or written history. And perhaps that ancient instinct never disappeared. Today we wear luxury watches, designer clothes, championship rings, military medals, university diplomas, and verified badges online. The objects have changed, the psychology hasn't. In many ways, we're still displaying our own version of the eagle feather. The only difference is that the cliffs have become digital. If you enjoyed this journey into humanity's distant past, Don't forget to subscribe. And in the next video, we'll explore another surprising mystery from prehistory: how a single toxic plant helped shape ancient societies in ways that still echo through history today.